You said before the first leg that it's a really good chance to get some momentum and confidence. Is it even more so now?
I think we've got to do everything we possibly can to qualify, which we will do, and get through. I think when you've got playoff games, they're always difficult. I don't think there's any easy playoff games now, whether it was a playoff for a Champions League to qualify for the Champions League, or whether it was an easy game in the Europa League. So no difference in this competition as well. No, everybody wants to get through, wants to be in the group stages, and that's what we want to do.
And you'll be able to improve yourself now because you're back on the touchline.
Well, I hope that helps, yeah.
And just, have you had time to reflect more on the start to the season, where you feel the squad's at the moment, and in terms of the new signings as well, how they're all bedding in, and how
yeah,
you can do?
I think that we can't go away from saying that, you know, we've only just started the season. We know that, not as well as we'd liked, but we actually think that when we look back over the last season and what we've done last year and the games we've played and getting to semi-final and the games we had, it's been a tough year for us. So, no, a wee bit slow in starting, slower than we'd like, but I feel as if we're working towards it, and I'm seeing signs of it improving, and we're talking plenty about it. It's not as if we're burying our head in the sand and not thinking about it. We're trying to do something about it.
You spoke after the game on Sunday about how much the team and the dressing room is missing that Martin figure. He kept standards so high and made sure everything was running smoothly. Do you think standards have slightly dropped with him not around? Do you think players are stepping up?
Not at all. I think standards here, if you think of the standards here 3 years ago to where the standards are now, would tell you where we've come. So sometimes to make that big jump, which we have done, the difference now is difficult to sometimes see. And I've told the story a couple of times about, you know, even in my climate, 10 or 11 years at Everton, the time I had there, quite often it was a good year, a bad year, good year, a bad year. I didn't want that to happen at West Ham, and thankfully last season it didn't. We've had 2 really good seasons, but it's always possible that it can happen. So we need to be aware of it, and we're also in the middle of changing an awful lot about the squad, and it's needed changing. We've needed to try and look to fix it, and that could be a little bit to do with the position we're in at the moment. But I think going forward it's the right way to grow. I really do.
That latest change to the squad is Emerson. He's come in. Mm-hmm. How pleased are you with that signing and what he can bring to that position as well?
Well, for me, we've been looking for help for Cressy for a while. We gave Arthur I thought it was right that Arthur, we hadn't used him as much, and I wanted Arthur to go and get who would maybe fill in at left back or left wing back. But we wanted to try and see what else we could find. It was been really, really difficult to find that position. You look at the clubs we've been trying to find and players in that role. Emerson was always really high on the list. We were looking at others as well in the build up over the last 2 months. We bid for a couple, we didn't get them. But Emerson, in the end, we were able to get over the line, and he'll help us and give us left back and give us a left wing back, which we don't have as well. So I'm hoping that he shows what he can do.
And will he travel tomorrow?
He can't. He's not. You're not allowed to. You had to register the players. Excuse me, for the first leg, and you can't change them. So that's the reason why he can't.
You've been good to a lot of players here at the club, and as you've been saying, you've been on a journey over the last 2 seasons. Is it going to be hard to make decisions to move the club on? Because you've always talked about wanting to be ambitious. Do you have to break up that side?
I think we are, and I think people would have seen it. The people who've watched us regularly, I think would probably agree with me. Probably since last January, probably say, yeah, maybe seen signs that we need to make changes. But as you well know, if you're in the game, you've been in the game long enough, making changes can sometimes be the difficult bit in trying to get that to form again. But I think what we've got is we've made great strides. We've got a great club now. I feel behind the scenes, the difference, the change in the club, the mentality, the change in how the people are seen, how we're perceived. Let's be fair, people are seeing us being a top team now, which is a big change. But I just feel this is a little bit of a turnaround. We've not been able, not through fault of MD. It's been a difficult market. You can see what's the prices of the market and what's going on now. You can probably understand a bit more how difficult the market's been. But I think it's the right thing, and I think most people who watch West Ham closely would probably say, yeah, probably so. We've just seen signs that maybe he's needed to change 2 or 3 players from January last year. But I think all the players who've been here, I've said to them, a couple of times. They see when it's all over and I'm finished, and they're either managers or they're, you know, coaches or doing something else. I says, no, they can bring me to their club for a beer. We'll go for a beer somewhere, and we'll because that's it. We work together just now, but they've been great colleagues and great players. All the players who've been here have been fantastic, and hopefully in the future I see them as coaches or managers.
So you do believe that you do have a group of leaders, because that's the influence was that maybe Mark had that leadership quality that maybe.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about Mark is Mark was the leader. Look, Declan was in main, if you have to say, Declan was the leader on the pitch. His performances, how he's taking the team forward. So Dec's great at that. The bit we're just missing is we've got a wee bit of a void at the moment. You know, quite a lot of new players coming in, trying to integrate them, trying to keep the other ones all in a good place as well. Nobs has just missed a little bit for that. So it's a big job to ask, and that's why you probably heard me say a few times about Dec and his experience. You know, Dec's got a long way to go to be a real, as you would see, as a leader. And when I look back, somebody asked me about it the other day about Phil Neville. I said how good Phil Neville was as a captain. You know, he was a brilliant captain for me at Everton. So I've got to say Mark Noble's been a brilliant captain for me at West Ham, and that's it. You get people who can really help you.
Just one more from here. There's always been pressure playing for West Ham, big club, very, very vocal fan base, straight talking. But do you have a different pressure now? It's the one you're right, because you wanted to establish a club as one that's at the top end of the Premier League. Some people laugh when you say it, but now people are saying, why aren't you up in the top position?
Yeah, that's what happens. The thing with if I go back, the difference is when you're at Manchester United, your job is to win the games, win all the games. Then you have to win with a bit of style, and on top of that you have to score goals. So here at West Ham, we've not had that. West Ham, and I'm using it, but the difference now in West Ham is, yes, we're expected to win. We're expected to win with a bit of style, and where people are used to seeing us scoring quite a lot of goals. So I couldn't put myself in the same category as Manchester United, but I think it comes with being a side which has got high expectations. And you know something, it's the one thing I do want as a manager. I want expectations, because that means we've done well enough to gain them. So if you've got high expectations, that's because we've earned it. Sometimes you can't always reach them, but I'm telling the players that we're still reaching for the stars, and we're still going to challenge, and we'll be there at the end of the season.
Is there a little bit of is a consequence of being a big club that when you're going in for players in the market, you're start getting big prices? Is there like West Ham's in for him?
Yeah, I think I'll tell you another part of it is being a top six club is you need to attract players who are in the top six, who are top six players. If you want to be a top six, of course you'll have the journey. I told you a bit about how you can grow and get on the journey, and we've done brilliant in the last 2.5 years. But then you need to say we're up there now. How are we going to stay up there? How are we going to keep in amongst it? Well, keeping in amongst it would mean us buying and paying probably at the really. I mean, I've got to say some of the clubs have bought really, really well, but have also been really expensive. Now I've got to say, and I'm saying this, and people went like, our owners have been brilliant on what they've tried to give us to spend. We brought Gianluca, Italian centre forward. We brought a centre half who we really like. Unfortunately, he's get injured. So I feel at the moment is they've supported us all the way, trying to get us the players, and they still are just now. So, but there's been some players we've not been able to get because they are not seeing West Ham quite yet as that really biggie. And that's been where we're saying as well, my goodness, we need that one to make us really a top six team. And that's where the difficulty, I'd say, we've found this window, trying to get that group of players who we could maybe step up. So, and we're still in that, are we, aren't we yet?
Can I put you on the spot just a little bit?
I'll try.
Is Paqueta being linked to bid £40 million?
Let me tell you, I'll not talk about him, but I can tell you that we have bid for him, yeah.
Maybe he's a good player. You saw him against you last season.
23, 30 Brazil caps, can play 10, 8, plays as a false 9 for Brazil quite often. I think his pedigree is really good. That doesn't guarantee that. You know, it's about like MD. You can buy your pedigree doesn't always guarantee that it works, but you'd hope that it helps towards possibly getting better.
Just on the Conference League, do you find it a little, given how hard the club have worked to get into Europe and stay in them, do you find it a little bit
Does it tick you off when someone's sort of like, it's a distraction from the Premier League?
Yeah, it does. But I think that what, and I'm saying I don't, and I'm not saying for a minute you boys do, but to play Thursday, Sunday has always been a nightmare. Whether I'm saying we all want to be in Europe because it's for West Ham especially, we need it. We needed it. If you look what happened last year to the club, the profile, how people saw our team, how they saw our players, the media, you boys all coming into. I mean, they've probably not had that here at West Ham for I don't know how long. But the thing about it, what I'm finding now about, you still can't get away with. I've not really enjoyed how we've played probably since the back end of since January. But nearly every one of you had to think of the games away from home coming back. We were away, I think we played it in Seville with Brentford the next week. I think we came back from Lyon and we had Arsenal the next game. It's really difficult to play Thursday, Sunday. So that's the problem with these competitions. It's not that you don't want to be in it. Pardon me. It's just that you're finding it's Thursday, Sunday, and it has to be taken into. It really is a sort of drain on you with the whole thing. And at the moment, we want to get through. We want to get through. But again, it will be a drain on any team. And actually, I was looking at Eintracht Frankfurt won it last year, and look at Eintracht Frankfurt's league position, where they finished. You know what I mean? Look at the teams. Look at Lyon. We're in the quarters of the semis. Seville with us as well. Look at where those teams went. We finished 7th, back in Europe again. So we done unbelievable to do both the best we could. Is it taking its toll a little bit? You could say yeah, it probably has. But I generally believe it will be back.
It's a risk worth taking. So you want to be in it. You want to win this competition.
Well, we want to be in it now. We could step back out and maybe see if we could grow again for a year or two. That might happen. If we're not good enough, then we might get in that. But while we're in it, we're trying to get good enough players to help us in Europe, good enough players to help us win the Premier League games. And I've got to say the club have done a really good job in trying to make that happen.
Have you personally had to persuade players that West Ham is bigger than they thought?
No, I would never persuade people. I want people who want to come. I want people who want to think they're part of it. So I don't want to go out and persuade people, not at all. But I want them to come to a stadium with the support right behind them. I want them to come where that they know they're getting great backing, great support. Because that plays a big part. I think, strangely enough, I had a couple of people at the game at the weekend who were very keen to come to the club. And, you just never know when you've got people watching you, and people are coming in. So I'm trying to attract top players to the club. So, I need the crowd and everybody to be right behind the team and right with us all the way, even when it's not going quite so good.
That wasn't quite the case against Brighton. Were you disappointed with the booing?
No, that's because of the levels we reached. But you have to accept it, when you don't quite do it. But I think if you ask most West Ham supporters how they've seen football in the last couple of years or so, they'd probably say they've been pretty happy with what they've seen. So I understand we've not been at our best, but I'm expecting to get back to my best.
David, you mentioned the difficulty in signing left back before obviously Emerson's arrival. Talk me through the difficulty in signing a central midfielder, because obviously the bids in for Lucas Paqueta, obviously missed out on the 9 and Nunez. How tough has it been trying to get another central midfielder?
We'll try to get someone who we think can complement what we've got as well. You all know we tried to sign Calvin Phillips in January. We couldn't get it over the line in January. I would have had Calvin Phillips in January. So we've been trying to add to lots of the areas. So as I said to you right at the start, there is us trying to improve some areas where we think we could do and we could add with, and we've not been able to get everything right away. And we're trying to slightly pull it together, but we just feel as if we could do with another midfield player who would mean if I'd lost Declan or I lost Tom, I'd have a high quality replacement. If I wanted to play with them, could I get somebody who could play with them if I need to do so? I want somebody to add value to what we've got, so we need somebody to give us another value to what we've got in Declan. So trying to get all that and say we think of some of the ones you've got. But you're right. We've not. There's a few we've gone. So we've really tried to get what we think are a good level of player.
There's also been a bid made for Hans Wennekin, the club who's attacking midfielder. What's the latest when it comes to that?
Look, I can't talk about it, but I can only tell you that we've made a bid and we made an improved bid as well for him.
You know, this summer, right, you have more of a staffing recruitment team. Robin Nugent's in there, of course, and others. Has that been a bit easier for you in terms of like identifying talent?
I wouldn't say it's been easier this transfer window. I don't know MD who's speaking to any other managers at the clubs. This transfer window's felt really long. That's one thing. Felt really long, and you know, you think there's some players in there in the market who've really changed the market price. There's been some clubs who maybe haven't been able to spend. There's been some who've spent ridiculous amount on people who maybe we wouldn't think so. It's been a really difficult market to weigh up, and I've got to say that we found, I think most people have said, we found the agents really difficult and very, very expensive, whatever club you've been, to sort of get that side of the deal done.
It tells all that agents fee and demand.
And you know, it's just so much getting added onto things now, which you know, if probably if the real world knew exactly where it was going and what it was costing, then it would be a shock, you know.
Can we talk about the prices in general? Because we are seeing, well, mentioning the names, but we're seeing lots of money for players who, with respect to them, haven't done that much in the game. Has that surprised you?
I think it probably tells you that the little there is out there maybe to buy. Certainly British players, I think we might come into that. British players, maybe the whole thing about having the British players and we're needing, I think it's been probably easier to go abroad and maybe pick people up, but any of the British players, I think the prices have been really, really big for them. You know, I think it's been harder. Now, of course, you can probably name a few who you say you get a free transfer, you get for little money, but if you're talking about trying to get sort of the best looking newcomers who might be at your club for the next 6 or 7 years, they're all costing you big money, really. You know, and that's where that's been. I think that's been a hard thing to see. You know, we're seeing some really big prices.
That's dangerous, though, because it's £10.8 million,
But,
£12
yeah.
million. He's captain of his club, scores goals for midfield, he's Belgian international.
Yeah.
You're getting value for money with it.
Yes, yeah. Well, you think, you know, I mean, there's other things that you might do, but I'm going to say this, and I don't know if Sky's filming this, but I actually think Sky have sent out an awful lot of wrong prices. I think they've overpriced so many of the players on what I'm seeing, and what from my practice I'm seeing that the prices what they're putting out are not the exact prices.
Can you tell us how many players have you bid for this summer? Have you lost count?
Do you know something? I'd probably say yes. I might say yes to that question. I couldn't say. Hey, it wouldn't take me long probably to gather it up, but I might say yes to it. Yeah.
Because I mean, you've been trying. It's just, and you've got some in, but it's just.
We have.
Harder
We
than
bid
ever.
for, and we bid for a lot of players, and if I told you the ones you would bust out laughing and say you're kidding yourself on.
I'll go.
No. You bust out laughing, you say you're kidding yourself on.
Tell us what.
No. But I'll tell you maybe off record, but I wouldn't tell you on record. But just to say, you know, we are. But maybe we'll try to go way above our station. Maybe I've tried to go even higher than maybe we were ready. But we generally, the club, we have tried to get really top players, and because I knew we needed it, and we probably even for us to give everybody a lift of a couple of really top players coming in who could ease the pressure on a Declan or Thomas Souček or, you know, Mickey Antonio, that sort of thing, you know.
Last couple now, please.
Is it because you can't offer Champions League or Europa League football? That pretty much the reason.
I don't know if that was the main reason. I mean, West Ham on how we played last year was hugely attractive. How we played, where we got to, you know, how we challenged. We were probably 5 minutes away from being in the Europa League in the game against Brighton. In fact, you know, so let's say we've been really, and I know we end up in the conference, but we were really, really close to finishing 6th again, but for the last 10-15 minutes. So you couldn't say that we'd been miles away from it, you know. But I think you're here, a few of the boys who are here regular would probably, I think, say, yeah, I can see where we're having to start to sort of try and rebuild and maybe move one or two around and try things. And I don't think many of the stuff we're doing, many people would disagree. But what you've got is got to report on what you're seeing, and at the moment, I'm seeing it as well.
Last couple now, Elena from Sky, is it?
I'm just interested when you say about the prices. Could you give an example? So if you're seeing what Sky reporting X percent,
Yeah, I could give you probably 3 or 4 from our club where I don't think that the value what you're putting up is correct. I just said you could probably go through them and see that. I just don't think it's exact. No.
And Conor Gallagher, can I ask about him? Are you still interested?
Again, I could never talk about players at another club. You know, never would. I mean, I was asked the question: did we make offers for people? I'm not going to tell any lies, but I can't talk about players at other clubs.
And finally, David.
Hi, from Italy, so
Hi there.
hi. Question is about Angelo Bona coming back in the
Uh-huh.
side. What do you think he can give to the team once he's finally fully healthy? And how much do you think he needs to be fully healthy?
Yeah. Look, Angelo's been huge for us. The people again who see us, he's been a huge personality for us. He's big in the dressing room. He's a really important player for us. I actually believe we've brought him back a little bit sooner than we'd like to. I think he's probably in need of another 3-4 weeks certainly of training and some games, but we needed it, we needed it. So he's not ready yet, he's not fully ready, but we felt that the game last week was good for him and get him back in amongst it, and we're glad to have him back. He's really important for his experience, his know-how of the game, and he's also been someone who's been here, I think he's been here 7 years now, so he's very experienced at the club.
That's Safal touch and go for tomorrow coming.
Sorry?
Safal touch and go for tomorrow.
Well, if you know the protocols for concussion, you can't play tomorrow. I think he can't play for 6 days because of concussion. So he was knocked out by all accounts. So he's fine. He's running about like a madman and wanting to be involved and whatnot. But the protocols are that he can't play.